Every set has a handful of cards which are flat out unplayable and limited, and so far critics agree that Invert meets that criteria. While I certainly agree that the card is incredibly narrow, it's not unplayable. In fact, building around this card has been my most enjoyable Guilds of Ravnica drafting experience yet. Let's talk about how to make it work. First things first, the Izzet guild symbol is a trick. This card has no place in an Izzet build. A majority of your creatures are going to have equal power and toughness, so you're relying on your opponent to have unequal stat lines. The other half of the card doesn't do you much good either, as there aren't many truly valuable targets for Invent. The card's real home is in Dimir, the king of unequal power toughness stat lines. Creatures like Dimir Informant and Muse Drake can offer early game value, then trade into much bigger threats in the mid to late game thanks to Invert. Murmuring Mystic allows you to trade up into massive creatures like the Dimir destroying Arboretum Elemental, while still leaving behind a Bird Illusion. There's a cool corner use case with Connive, allowing you to steal a Hammer Dropper or Tajic if you need. It's also rather easy to splash a few Izzet guild gates, allowing you to cast Invent in the late game to dig for key removal spells. The real payoff of Invert, though, comes in the form of Vidalcan Mesmerist. A low value common card in draft, you can easily pick up a couple copies of this 2/1 wizard. Normally, 2/1 blockers aren't very good, and Dimir needs blockers. However, there are a ton of powerful creatures with 2 power or less. And when 2 Mesmerists are attacking an opponent with multiple 1 or 2 power creatures, Invert becomes a 1 mana 2-for-1. Similarly, 1 Mesmerist and 1 Dazzling Lights can produce a clean 2-for-2 with a mana advantage for you, or take out big threats in the late game with slight card disadvantage. Invent certainly isn't a good card, but it is a good example of why Guilds of Ravnica's draft environment is so fresh, complex, and exciting. While I wouldn't suggest taking this pack 1 pick 1, I do recommend taking it and seeing if you can make it work for you at some point. Thanks for watching this episode of Lightspeed Limited. Let me know down in the comments what cards you've been having success with in Guilds of Ravnica Limited, and don't forget to like and subscribe.